from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me from Silicon Valley, Vikas Sehgal. Vikas, thank you very much for being with me here today. The way I like to do it, I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves and tell us about, their background, their journey, and what you are currently up to. And then we're going to take the conversation from there. So the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Mehmet. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Listened to a number of episodes and I've been a fan of what you've been doing. A little bit about myself. I'm Vikas Sehgal. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, but a technologist by training. My undergrad was in computer science. I was born and raised in India. I moved here shortly after my undergrad when I was working on my first startup, which is called Nagarro. I helped build that along with some other co-founders and friends. It is now a $1 billion company, publicly listed in Germany, with offices in dozens of countries and close to 18,000 employees now. I ran that company as CEO and co-founder for close to 20 years before stepping down from that role, and I'm now working on my second startup, which is called HyperDart. And here we're taking on an even more challenging goal, which is to reinvent internet search. I know there's a lot of talk these days about search and what the future of search is, and we have a unique play in that direction. So I'd love to talk about that as well.
Sure, it's an exciting topic. And again, thank you, Vikas, for being with me here today. I always, especially with founders and entrepreneurs like yourself, Vikas. So the first, traditional or logical question, let's say, is why HyperDart? Like, what was, the challenge that you've seen and you thought, okay, I need to, and you just exited a very successful business.
Correct.
So why, to start HyperDart? What was the main purpose to start the business?
So even when I was working on my first company, Nagarro, I always wanted to have a play in consumer tech. Consumer tech has always been exciting for me, and I wanted to build. Our first company was more of a services company where we built products and applications for other enterprises, for other startups. And that makes it, where you don't have the final say in what is it that is going to impact the world. So I always wanted to have build a product in the consumer tech space, and this is just an idea finding you. This idea has been with me for, I would say, close to a decade, and I've thought about it. I've researched about it. I've understood the internet search space in a lot of depth, and so it's not about me chasing an idea. It's more of an idea finding me, and just staying with me and making home in my head. So that's what got me into it.
So you mentioned just a few minutes ago, about what's happening in the search space.
Right.
I think we are witnessing now some disruption, I would say, into something which became legacy with us, like,
Right.
and let's us not hide anything. So even the search engine became a verb in English, right? So we say
Right.
go Google
Mm.
it, right?
Right.
But we're seeing a lot of things changing and about to change. So
Right.
from your perspective, and how this is also, what I want to understand, because not only from the technical side of it, from the business side of it, because this is something that, as you said, it's a consumer business and everyone needs it. So
Yes.
let's talk a little bit more about this.
Absolutely. I think search is changing. Search is evolving in a lot of different ways, especially with the introduction of AI. But at the heart of it, search is essentially users looking for information, and there are providers of information, and everything else is clutter in between. Whether it was traditional search where web crawlers would go out and crawl web pages and try to index them, and users doing keyword searches, and the algorithm essentially ranking them and giving you links to those pages. In today's world, there is more AI applied to it, so you read and understand those pages and summarize them for the user. But essentially, the model is users looking for information, providers having information, and then you can put web crawlers in the middle, you can put AI, Gen AI in the middle, you can put all sorts of things in the middle, which you call, your search engine, various algorithms, and so on and so forth. The way we are approaching search is, make a platform for these information providers to bring their knowledge and intelligence within search. In the traditional search model, they have not had a first-class seat on the table. In today's model, I think they have an even worse seat on the table, because traditionally you would provide the information or limited information to the web crawler to appear relevant so that you get ranked higher in the search results, and then you get the clicks to your site. In the new AI models, the the AI engine can read and summarize this information for you and give you the answer right there. And in most of these models, it is the creators, the knowledge creators, who get the short end of the stick. And HyperDart is actually changing all of that. HyperDart is making these knowledge creators really first-class citizens within search, and to share revenue back with them, to give them a prominent position within search as answer cards, which we call darts on our platform. We could talk more about it, as we go on, but that's the main concept that we're going after.
Fantastic, Vikas. Now, one thing you mentioned, which I think a lot of people suffered from this, and actually started within the search. We know about the algorithms and how to rank higher. And I used to listen from a lot of, I would say, really brilliant people who they say, okay, I'm creating a content, whether it's a blog, maybe it's some articles, some videos. So they say, why do I need to be treated with someone who is maybe copying me? And just because so this unfairness in the ranking space. So how much do you think this is, it's also like pushing people to find alternatives for something which has been there for, I don't know, like close to maybe 25 years now?
Yeah. Actually, it's always a catch-up race between people who know and understand how to do SEO, and they try to, well, you can call it game the system, but you can also call it, that is the game, is how to rank higher in search result page. And, the algorithm, or, Google and Bing, they're constantly changing the algorithm to weed out, people who are just doing SEO to rank higher. And they're always trying to figure out how to get the most useful content to the top. But as long as, it is based on this kind of an algorithm, there will always be people who try to reverse engineer or figure out how the algorithm works, and then try to create pages that users, not users, but the web crawler finds is most relevant rather than what the users think are most relevant. So a lot of this SEO game has come about primarily because the algorithm is in charge. And to some extent, I would even venture to say that that is what has led to a deterioration in content, in the quality of content on the internet. A lot of content is designed primarily with SEO in mind, or primarily because of SEO, is designed to have the right keywords, the right backlinks, all the right things that the algorithm wants to see, just to rank higher on the search results page. And the approach that we're taking by getting the user input directly into the system, by bringing these information providers directly on the platform, is to eliminate the need for SEO. You should not need to design your content for to appear relevant to a web crawler. Rather, if you design your content that appears the most relevant to the end user, and you can build direct connection and affinity with the user base, you can eliminate this whole requirement for SEO.
Because this is music to my ears, because I think the same thing that happened with the search engine optimization, it happened also on, let's mention this, like also on the social media, right? So
Right.
and the way that the algorithm pushes people who follow certain things that the algorithm like, let's put it
Yeah.
between quote unquote, and then we start to see kind of low quality content going more in front of people rather than the relevant one. So this is beautiful. Now some people might come and say, yeah, because what you're doing is great, but now we have a new challenge, which is the content created by AI itself, right?
Yes.
So how do you think this? And by the way, like even people who are like nerds in SEO and this stuff, so I didn't find a solid answer from them, even from the traditional SEO perspective, how they're gonna do with this very much created, very much to the point, designed content with everyone having the same thing. So how the algorithm gonna do? So tell me how we're gonna tackle this challenge.
Right. I think that is a genuine challenge. Soon there's going to be more AI-generated content on the internet than even human-generated content. And that is going to be a big challenge for traditional web crawling, indexing, SEO. It is going to be a big challenge for the traditional search companies as well. And the way to address that, at least on our platform, is we are actively pursuing and bringing the most curated, expert-generated content on our platform. And a lot of this data, some of it is obviously, text-based, but there is a lot of data that is structured information. And structured information in specific verticals has a specific way of representation. If, for example, you looked at local business, restaurants, or travel information, there is a structured information, there's a structured search. You can also write blogs about it, but when you come to structured search, that is the most relevant for the user in that context, and that's why what we're building is intelligent answer cards within our search, where it can not only summarize using AI, but it can also do query based. So data sets that plug in directly on our platform they can be queried, and that information can be presented in a structured way to the user. Now, it is always going to be a challenge that, if you're relying primarily on crawling, you are going to face the challenge of regurgitated AI generated content that is going to be fed to the web crawlers. I think that is why you have to use web crawling, but you have to rely on other mechanisms, such as bringing these expert curated information directly into search.
So for me, as as the end user, right? So from experience perspective, how, like, other than getting the relevant information fast to me, like, actually, I might not be anymore visiting, for example, a website and scrolling myself into it. So correct me if I'm wrong in this, because so that's fine. But for the content creators, their main, usually point is to get someone to their website maybe and do kind of, there's a call to action that they need to do. So how are you planning to fill this, cycle?
Mm-hmm. So traditional content creators, or I would call them even knowledge creators, they have typically produced their knowledge information, they put it on a website, and they hope it gets ranked well on the search results. So when users are typing in their queries, it appears in the search results, and they get the clicks to their site. In a lot of cases, they have to spend a lot of money either doing SEO or SEM, where they pay to get ranked higher, especially for competitive keywords. So they spend all this time, energy, money to get the clicks to their site. And then they have to recoup those costs and make some money on top of that. So then they're forced to show even more ads or put a paywall in order to get compensated for that content. On our platform, we are opening up search. So we're saying search is no longer this big black box. It is designed like a platform where different information providers plug in. They actually contribute directly to the search result page, helping improve the user's experience within search. And we monetize that and share that revenue back with those content creators or knowledge creators or publishers or information providers. So rather than having this friction in the system where you spend time, energy, money to rank higher in the search results, get the clicks to your site, and then monetize it on their site, you can bring that content information directly within the search result page, improve the user's experience, and also monetize that directly on the search result page. So there is an added incentive for these publishers to bring their knowledge, expertise to the search result page and share revenue back from the platform, which had been missing so far.
So if I understand it correctly, Vikas, what you're trying to do, you're trying to, let's say, democratize the search. So
Yes.
that means you don't have to pay money to get discovered and get ranked high. You just bring your knowledge, put it on HyperDart,
Right.
and then you will be able to be discovered by people, and you will share the revenue with.
Yes. So the main difference here is that you monetize and share your knowledge and expertise directly on the platform, on the search platform, which does not exist today. What we're also doing is that we are allowing these knowledge creators to directly form a relationship with the end users, which does not exist today. Search is not sticky. So if I today rank higher on the search result page, I'll get the traffic. Tomorrow, if the algorithm changes and I'm pushed down, I will no longer get that traffic. What we are trying to do is build a direct relationship between the knowledge creators and the knowledge seekers. So when you see an answer card that is generated by an expert, you can like and follow them, similar to social media, and you will see more of their content within your search results. So not only as a user, I'm allowed to customize my search experience, but I can also directly form a bond with those knowledge creators on the search platform. And to some extent, it minimizes the value of search, but we're not about, you know, creating this black box that retains the value, but more of a platform where different providers can plug in and be able to establish direct relationships with the end users. Users get a better search experience, and publishers are able to monetize their content in a more effective way. So, in a way, it will revolutionize this whole ecosystem.
Absolutely. Now, it's just I would say, natural question to ask also, because so we've seen some other AI players who want to go into this space recently. Again, mentioning transparently, open AI, trying to be in that game. Uh, Google trying to play it in the reverse way. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but again, the way you're presenting it is much different than
Hmm.
what I'm seeing. So, if I want to ask you about like how do you expect actually the traditional search engines to react, or maybe to try to disrupt themselves, I would say, to
Hmm.
stay relevant and keep getting people to their side?
So, I mean, it's uh, it's a traditional problem with a really successful product. It's very difficult to innovate on it because or to build something totally new because of how it might cannibalize an existing revenue stream. And that has been the problem with search. I mean, it has been exceedingly successful, so much so that it becomes much more difficult to innovate in this space because there is one 800-pound gorilla that takes up a big chunk of the market. And at the same time, even for them, it is difficult to innovate because it might um, cannibalize a very successful revenue stream. So I think this will play out in the next few years. How OpenAI and the evolution of the LLMs will definitely play a huge role in the evolution of search. I think web crawling and your traditional search will also stay on for at least for some more time. But I think the angle that we're going after is who is really looking out for the actual information creators, for the knowledge creators out there. I think all of these platforms are trying to maximize the value that they can build into the platform or into their product. Traditional search has been like that. You make a black box where everything is indexed, and you have an algorithm spitting out the search result page. Nobody else has any control over it. If you have captive eyeballs, you really have the entire ecosystem under control. The Gen AI models, again, they're reading a lot of content, so they're able to summarize it, which is great for the end user, I would say. But again, who's rooting for the people who are actually creating that information? If their information is summarized and regurgitated by an AI system, who's really looking out for them? Now, granted, we use AI as well. We use all the popular LLMs, OpenAI, Claude, Grok models, all of them we've integrated into our platform. But I think the differentiator that we're bringing to the table is that we want the knowledge creators to have a first-class seat on this table to be able to monetize their information and content rather than their content just being regurgitated out and you're providing a small link or reference to them, which in most cases will not get clicked in, and data shows that traffic to a lot of these publishers has actually dropped, since AI started summarizing and regurgitating content. So our goal is to make it a platform where publishers and information providers actually get a real seat at the table.
That's fantastic. So if we want to go like and foresee the future a little bit, because in general, I'm speaking, like do you see the traditional search engines disappearing? Maybe of course not in the short term, but maybe I don't know, after 5-10 years.
I think rather than disappearing, they will become more, I would say, pervasive. So, for example, when you talk to Siri, when you talk to Alexa, when you push a button in your car to search for an address or a place that you want to visit, a lot of those are forms of search. They've just become more pervasive rather than open up a browser and go to a site and click a query or type in a query. So I think in the future, they will become more and more pervasive and you will stop noticing it as search, whether it is some AR or VR headsets that you're wearing or just glasses, and talking to them or not even talking to them. They're looking at a particular view and then doing some searches behind the scene to figure out, what you're looking at. So search will become just very pervasive in our daily lives. And in the future, I think we will not perceive it as search. Search would also be more proactive, depending upon what your day looks like, your schedule looks like. It can automatically be doing some searches behind the scenes to proactively give you information, maybe something that you might need to buy, something that, if you're visiting a place, something that you might need to buy in order to have a more comfortable visit. So all of those things, I think, will be forms of search. They will just not be searches that you type in a box on a website.
Right. So it's like kind of this natural interaction, with a machine. Now, I want to shift a little bit gears, Vikas, and talk a little bit more about the business aspect and also the entrepreneurship aspect. So exiting, with a successful IPO after and staying for long time with Nagarro, like of course, like you've captured a lot of experience over there. So first, what are some of the maybe similar challenges that you faced there that now starting HyperDart and growing it from the scratch, that you said, oh, like it was good, like I had this experience there, so now I'm avoiding these challenges here. So if you can share some of these challenges and how you can overcome them.
Okay, so first, to set the record straight, I was not at Nagarro at the time of the IPO. I had stepped down from the CEO role before that.
Sure.
But I remain a shareholder at the company, and I'm a big well-wisher. It's my first child. But experiences that I've taken from Nagarro. Nagarro was, a big part of my career, and one of the only other jobs that I've done other than HyperDart. And we obviously went through a lot of challenges. It was a bootstrapped company. We literally started it out of our living room. So I have, I just have a lot of experience doing things in a scrappy, I would say, financially effective way that I learned from there. So starting out really, really small and how to build from there, how to start that flywheel and keep it running. So those, I would say, would be number one on my list is, how to start things small, how to find that product market fit, and then how to accelerate that flywheel. The second thing I would say is, at Nagarro, we saw two major downturns, the 2000 dot-com meltdown and then the 2008 financial crisis. And both of those were challenging for the company. The first phase, it was a very young company, which had almost, a good chance of going out of business. In the second case, it was, a growing company with, I would say, maybe close to 1,000 employees at the time. And, figuring out how to make payroll when things are going are crashing around you. I mean, it was a very stressful time, but I think what I've learned is more of how to persevere through challenges, and it is somewhat of a I would say stoic philosophy, is how to remain calm when things around you are falling apart. And what I've seen is that just having that even-minded approach to things has really helped me to work through some of these challenges, and that's what I'm applying to this. To HyperDart. First of all, we're starting small, starting scrappy. We're taking on, like some of the biggest companies in the world today.
Right.
But we're doing it on a shoestring budget, and we've built an excellent product, and that is something that has carried with me from my first company, and obviously. Plowing through challenges and persevering. I think that's going to be another big takeaway that I'll have to apply to this one.
Absolutely. If I want to ask you, because about also scaling to multi-billion-dollar companies, some founders, they have this ambition, but sometimes you mentioned perseverance, but there must be also something else that drives you to reach this stage, right? Because every founder's dream is to have a unicorn. Maybe not all of them, but I mean, when you decide, especially to be in the space of the tech space.
Yeah.
So, like, how to keep the, I would say, the moral high, and to make sure that to get to the goal that you want to achieve from your experience.
I think so. I personally, and I think everybody is different in that regard. This is not a thought that I give on a day-to-day basis. We obviously want HyperDart to be successful, but I want this concept to be successful. I want um, the vision in my mind is that something like this should exist. Now, whether it is HyperDart or something else or somebody else, if this exists, I think I would be fulfilled. If some concept like this existed, um, so that is what motivates me and drives me. I can forget about HyperDart. I can forget about everything else, and I don't think about whether it is going to be $1 billion or 100 million or 100 billion. I just do not think about it. It is just one step at a time. Once I set the vision, the goal that this is what should exist. This is the vision in my mind, and then it is just taking that one step every day. And that's what I think about: how to make the product better, how to make a platform that is designed for these knowledge creators. What tools can be built, and I think everything else will just follow from there. If we build something that is true to the vision, true to what we have set out to do, I think everything else will just follow. I don't know how it will happen, but I just know that it will. And in some ways, I consider myself as a tool of this vision. Like, this is the vision, and it is happening through me. And if I didn't do it, somebody else would do it. But I feel like this is an idea whose time has come and that just needs to exist. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but that's how I look at it.
No, absolutely. I'm happy with the answer because
Mm,
like it's actually what I was expecting
mm,
from you,
mm,
because it's believing in something bigger than you, and like
mm,
having this passion driven
mm,
approach of
mm,
building, and forgetting the valuation and
mm,
focusing more about solving the end goal, which is
mm.
giving the customers what they deserve, to your
Right.
point. So thank you for sharing this.
Mm,
If I want to also ask you, about, let's say, of course, like you have your own mission, but at the same time, you must have set some big goals for HyperDart, right?
yes.
Like, for example, in 5 years from now, HyperDart should be three
Yeah.
dots.
Yeah. And absolutely. I mean, there's charts and projections and all of that, and we want to be among the top, 3, 4, 5 top search engines on the market, in the next 3, 4 years, and that is definitely a goal, but to achieve that, it's not like, okay, how do we go about acquiring this user versus that user, and how do we I mean, we have all of the marketing plans and everything laid out, but a lot of it is designed around how to get the best knowledge creators on the platform, how to get how to provide them the right incentives, and to be a player, or to be a platform that they actually want to share their knowledge and information on. And I think everything else will just follow from there. So our goal, our mission, is to get the most um, curated, best knowledge creators on the platform, so that we can produce the best answer cards, AI results, web crawl results, what have you, for the users. And if we can get that side of the equation under control, then I think the users, the adoption, and everything else will just follow from there. So we do have grand visions. We want to be among the top 5 search engines in the next few years, and I think we can definitely achieve that.
Fantastic. Because like this, I always like also to ask this traditional question. Maybe we touched base a little bit, but like you're second time founder, right? So,
Yeah.
and a lot of my audience are kind in the first time founder
Hmm.
space, and some of them, because I receive a lot of messages and feedback from people who listen, who are thinking to become founders, right?
Yeah.
So if you want, from someone who became second time founder, like you said,
Hmm.
and so always, people tell me, yeah, so if someone is starting second time, third time, it becomes like easy by the time. For not easy in the sense very easy, but I mean, you learned it all.
Yeah.
So it's all starts with being the first time founder and the successful first time founder. So if you want to like give us, some of the wisdom
Hmm.
that you have
Hmm.
collected over the years, especially for
Hmm.
the first time founders in the tech space.
So let me first address the second time founder situation. Second time, I don't think it becomes easier. I think you cannot do anything else. You're in a way unemployable after you being an entrepreneur for so long. I guess uh, you forget how to work for somebody else. Maybe I don't know, uh, but uh, but second time I think it's just because you don't know how it would be any other way. But first time, you know, I became an entrepreneur in my mid 20s, a few years out of college. But I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur, even when I was a teenager. I wanted to have my own business. And some people have that very early on. And if you do, then it's actually really easy. I think becoming an entrepreneur in your 20s, you might think, oh, I don't have money and all. There's plenty of venture money out there. It's much easier when you start out early in your career because because you're not bogged down by a lot of self-limiting beliefs. You feel like there is a different kind of energy and enthusiasm that you have at
Right.
that time that you can just uh, you know you just have that feeling of unstoppability and unbreakability, and that you it's much easier, I would say. um, I think later on, and for your audience who fall into that bracket, I would just say, you know, just jump into it. The most of the learning will happen, after you become an entrepreneur rather than before. You're not going to learn entrepreneurship to become an entrepreneur. You are going to jump the deep end, and life will teach you how to be an entrepreneur. I think for people who are later on in their careers, you know, once you have a comfortable job that's paying all the bills and everything, everything gets into this whole cycle, whether you call it monotonous cycle or whatever, but it becomes much more difficult to break out of that. And for people uh, uh, in that situation,
Mhm.
um, I think it is definitely more difficult for them to break out of that cycle and okay, now I'm going to become an entrepreneur. But there've been a lot of success stories in that as well. And again, I'm not a good example of that because I haven't lived through that. But what I've seen is that it typically requires more planning. Most of the entrepreneurs who have had successful careers had bigger enterprises before. They build upon their knowledge and experience that they've gained there, and then come up with the next idea in that space.
Right.
And typically, you would not be if that is the situation where you're at, then you would not be that kind of a scrappy entrepreneur working out of a garage. You would typically already get together with a team that can take it forward. Most of those entrepreneurs start off with venture backing in the bank, even when they're ready to quit. So I think you build a lot on the experience that you've gained from your job. You try to build the next step in that and do it outside the enterprise, just because it's much more efficient to do it that way. Um, I don't know what else I can tell the audience about becoming um becoming an entrepreneur. I think it's not something that you learn from courses. It's not something that a lot of the learning will happen, once you decide to take the plunge. Then you will actually become, because life is going to throw you around a
Right.
bit. And
Absolutely, absolutely. Because and to your point, I've seen the both models. I'm passionate about startups and entrepreneurs and tech founders. So yeah, to your point, like both models, but I can see what you're talking about in terms of the young ones and the crazy thing that they will be
Hmm,
ready to do because they are younger. I'm not saying they don't care, but maybe still they don't have even family commitments, they don't have large bills to pay, and they feel this freedom to do whatever they want. And we saw the successful examples, and we saw the successful examples also from people who, to your point, work in large
hmm,
companies, and they shifted maybe even between companies, and
hmm,
also they came out with great things. And thank you for bringing this, because some people, they think, oh, I need to be only young to be a successful entrepreneur, and I tell people, no,
hmm,
actually you can start being an entrepreneur when you are
hmm,
working even in
hmm,
a large enterprise. So thank you for bringing
hmm,
this, because
hmm.
like we almost coming to an end. So any final thought you want to share with us, and where people can get in touch with you and find out more about HyperDart?
Sure. HyperDart is at hyperdart.com. It's easy to find. You can try some searches there. You can, we have a browser extension that you can install. It will change your default search to HyperDart, but try it out and see how you like it. Right now, a lot of the results that you might see would be similar to what you would find on Google or Bing, but that is our V1 of the product. We are onboarding a lot more knowledge creators onto the ecosystem, and that will change in the coming months as we roll out new features. Um, People can find me primarily on LinkedIn, I would say. I don't use much other social media. But LinkedIn, if you type in my name and HyperDart, you'll most likely find me there. Any final thoughts? I would say, for people who are looking for, more, to become more entrepreneurial, I would say a lot of the limitations that we think about are actually in our own heads. I think a lot of us have, including myself, have self-limiting beliefs that, oh, only this is possible, only this can be done. And a lot of times it is just overcoming those self-limiting beliefs that, will open the doors for new possibilities. So I'm a big believer in, you know, controlling the mind and how the mind thinks and how the mind then has an effect on both our bodies and our environment and the situations around us. So whatever form of meditation or control of your own mind that you can practice, and every person is different, so they might have their own journeys, but I do believe that a lot can be changed by just being in control of our own minds.
Thank you for bringing this, Vikas, at the end, because this is really something that I'm a big believer also in it.
Hmm.
Every obstacle you think that it's an obstacle, it's actually exists in our mind only.
Yeah.
So the unfortunately or fortunately, I don't say unfortunately. So I discovered this little bit late, but now I try to tell people the same thing you mentioned. Like, it's only cannot happen because you don't want it to happen, right? So especially when it comes to starting business, starting any endeavor. It's not only like about business and company. So thank you very much. And I'm discovered also, like, maybe late in my professional and personal life about mindfulness, and being sitting and have this deep thinking using meditation. So I encourage also people to have a look if they are not already doing that. So,
Yes.
and for the links you just mentioned, because so this, for the audience, you can find them in the show notes. You don't need to go and look around. Or make the life easy. At the end, because thank you very much. Really, I enjoyed the discussion and the conversation with you today. And I wish you all the best with HyperDart. And I believe, this is my personal opinion. We need something, which is personal. And what I liked about, what you're doing is you bring, although like people talks about the AI and the, all these things, but you're trying to bring the personal touch again to the search.
Yes.
And getting the real social, not the hype social aspect of it. And I appreciate you know the time you gave me, and it was like early for you in the morning. And thank you for being with me on the show, Vikas. And this is, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say thank you so much for having me, Mehmet. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Vikas. And this is for the audience. So, as I mentioned, all the links are in the show notes. And, if you just discovered our podcast by luck, or, someone told you, thank you for passing by, give us a thumb up and, share it with your friends and colleagues. We're trying to make an impact here. And this is for the people who keep coming back and send me their requests and, suggestions and feedback. Thank you for doing so. Keep them coming. I read them all, and I try to get back to every single one of you who message me. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll be again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.